Hi, this is Jim Heley with Flintco again for another video update on the Boone Pickens Stadium Phase 3 West End Zone. With me today I've got Steve Trainer with Oil Capital Electric. Oil Capital is our electrical contractor out here doing all the work in the stadium. We're standing right now where the transformers feeding the building are going to be. This area of the parking lot here just to the east of Wes Watkins building north of the stadium is actually across Hall of Fame from the stadium. We're going to put the transformers in here and I'll let Steve talk a little more about that.
Thank you, Jim. First of all, it's a pleasure to be on a project of this importance. Like you said, this is going to be the location of the 3 transformers that are fed from dual feeds from the university. This will be medium voltage, 13,200 volt coming to this location, and then it'll feed into 3 transformers where it's broken down into 480 volt. The purpose of those 3 transformers is to give us 3 different feeds to the building, so that if there's any maintenance issues or power issues in the grid in the university system or in the Stillwater system, the stadium continues to have power. From this location, it'll have the ability to feed future projects as well as it'll feed underground and into the building through a duct bank system. And we can go from here into the building and take a look at how that system enters the building and then where it goes within the building.
Okay, and as well as having 3 different transformers going to the building, Steve, my understanding is that almost all of OSU is fed by 2 different grids within the city of Stillwater. So if there's a major power outage in the city of Stillwater and a whole grid goes down, knocks out half the town, the stadium is still fed, and the university, as a rule, is still fed from another grid. Is that right?
Yes, that's right.
Okay. All right, well, let's take a look over here at what's going on the north side of the stadium, as long as we've got a good vantage point here. We've got some structural steel going up right now on the north side on the outboard. We haven't gotten above the stadium yet, so you really can't see it from the webcams, and you really can't see what's happening when you're sitting in the bowl of the stadium right now. But when you walk out here on the north side on game day, you're going to see a lot of structural steel has been set in the north side here. And we're just going to keep that moving on around. We'll go from the north side of the existing stands toward the center of the stadium to make the final steel connection at the center of the stadium. Let's take a look now at where these conduits go into the building and talk about the duct bank a little bit underground. Okay, well, we're coming across Hall of Fame here. This is actually right on the edge of Hall of Fame. This is an electrical manhole vault that's been set in the ground. We're going to run conduit underground from that transformer location over here to this manhole and then on into the building. As you swing the camera around here, you're going to see the steam tunnel. This is the steam tunnel connection coming out the big concrete structure, and it's going to tie into the existing steam tunnel, which is actually right below our feet here, and take all the steam lines from the OSU loop into the stadium. Just to the right of that, you can see all the conduit coming into the stadium wall, actually going into the basement. Where we're standing right now is going to be below grade. This steam tunnel and all this conduit will be buried once we finish putting the final grade in here, bringing the rest of the dirt in here. Steve, you want to talk a little bit about the conduits coming into the building here and what we have?
Yeah, Jim, there's 24 parallel conduits in here that'll have 4 wires in each one, which when it's complete, there'll be approximately 35,000 feet of cable running from the transformer location that we just looked at into the first switchgear room that's in the basement. The 4 conduits, you can see 2 on the right that are in, and then there are sleeves above it. Those are actually for the communication. That's future capability to feed anything that goes to the north of the stadium, so that they'll have capability for fiber optic as well as copper lines.
Okay, good deal. What we're going to do is take a walk around and look at the masonry on the south side of the stadium. It's kind of one of our bigger progress areas. And then also walk down inside and see where these conduits come into the basement and then what happens to these conduits once they get into the basement and where they go from there. Well, we're back over here on the south side of the project again, looking at this first tower of masonry we're putting up. This is they took the block all the way to the top. I think we're going to go halfway up and then come back down and do the brick. But they actually ran it all the way to the top. And you can see where they've got some brick walls placed. So they're stacking bricks right now here at the bottom of the tower. All the scaffolding will drop down, and they'll just jack it up and put the brick face on. We're going to head on down the basement now and talk about a little more electrical stuff. On the basement right now on the north side of the field level, we call it. And this is where the conduit actually comes into the building. I'm going to let Steve talk a little bit about where this comes in and where it goes once it gets into the building.
Jim, this is where the 24 conduits come into the building that we saw outside. Then they come in and go to the south through this arrangement above the ceiling and drop into the first switchgear room, which is a room that serves to isolate the three separate feeds. This gives us not only the redundancy we talked about outside, but it also gives us a second capability inside the building in case there's any issues. We can transfer from the three sources outside to all the feed on one source or the three separate sources. This is kind of an indication looking here of one of the challenges to the electrical system. Electrical is one of the things that everybody pays no attention to, and so we have to keep it out of the way, but it has to work. As soon as it doesn't work, that becomes the first issue that we hear about. The men have done an extremely good job of meeting the challenge of staying above the ceilings and missing all of the ductwork and plumbing pipe in this area.
And that's a huge effort for us to make sure that everything fits in the ceiling spaces. The architects always want to keep the ceilings as high as they can, and we've tasked United Mechanical with the task of taking the plumbing, the fire sprinkler drawings, the electrical drawings, and coordinating all that in these condensed areas like this where we have a lot of work going through, and making sure that everyone has their space to get their conduit and pipe and water lines and sprinkler lines through, and yet staying above the space, not getting in the way of the light fixtures and other power drops that have to happen in those areas. So this is a good example, though, of just the heavy electrical work coming into the building and some of the craftsmanship we have out here with the banks of conduits and every conduit being bent and put in place exactly where it needs to be. So we'll take off from here and go down to the south side where we have one of the electrical rooms that's a little farther along than the one on the north side over here, and see what happens once the conduits get into the electrical room over there. Okay, well, we've come over here to the south side. We've got Bill Jones, who's in charge of electrical distribution in the building for Oil Capital Electric. Bill's going to talk a little bit about the south electrical room here and where the conduits come from and where they go from here.
Well, this is coming from the main switchgear over the north side of the building in Sector 4. All the conduits are ran underground, and this particular area feeds the rest of the building. It goes all the way up to the top. And that's...
So you have conduits from here that run up through the ceiling up above us over here, underground, and go to all the different parts of the building, even up to the suites area. So anyway, there's three electrical rooms in the building here. Like I said, this building could be fed from any one of the three transformers we saw that are being set outside, so it gives them some redundancy there, and that's basically the backbone of the distribution center in the stadium. Is that right?
That's right.
All right. Well, thanks for being with us here. We're going to take one walk out to the field and take a quick look at the stadium from the outside, see the precast bowl in place, and then we're going to wrap it up today. We're in the locker room now, and what we have going on down here right now is a lot of electrical and mechanical work, as well as some metal stud framing. You can see against those block walls, we've got the walls furred out with some metal studs over on the conduit and plumbing in those walls to service the locker room and the outlets out here. A lot of stud framing going in, but no sheetrock yet. The reason there's no sheetrock going in is we don't have conditioned space. You know, we have a lot of moisture down here yet because all of our elevator shafts and escalator shafts are open. Some of our drain lines aren't hooked up, although we're getting a lot better on that. And so you'll see a lot of studs going up, but not a lot of sheetrock. But it's a step in the right direction, and you'll see a lot of conduit roughing going in the walls in the next couple months here. Okay, we're down here on the field now looking back up at the bowl. Most of the precast has been installed. We've got a few pieces to put in yet, but for the most part it's all there. Doesn't mean it's all anchored down and complete. We're still welding and making connections underneath the stadium, but it's not going to blow away unless we get a really good wind. You can see they're putting in the connection to the north side of the stadium up over there. We poured the lower half of the concrete there. Again, you know, we put that cast-in-place concrete section in there to connect the precast to the existing stadium seamlessly, so when we take that fence out, you'll be able to walk across any row all the way around the stadium. We're doing some concrete works, putting some handrails in out here, just finishing the concrete work. As we get over here to the structural steel on the south side, we're starting to hang those frames up there. And that's really it. You know, we're really working a lot more on the underneath the stadium than we are on the outside, or just as much on the underneath the stadium as we are on the outside. The progress isn't as evident as it is on the outside, but you know, we're getting ready to start working on our second tower of masonry. So we'll start setting our scaffold up to put masonry up on that second side of the tower, second tower in the center. And well, that concludes our tour for today of the Boone Pickens Stadium Phase 3. I'd like to thank Steve Traynor from Oil Capital Electric for taking his time out to come here and walk us through the electrical systems of the building. I hope you found that interesting. We're going to get the plumbers and pipe fitters and ductwork guys out here and talk to them next about the mechanical systems of the building. Just go Pokes.